Superman Lost, issue 3, Christopher Priest writing, Carlo Pugolane on the art. So, once again, we have a little bit in present day with Lois getting frustrated and finding Clark's white suit and just a little like tech device that's been damaged. And obviously, we see by the end of the story like how it ended up damaged. Yeah. But it's basically, so last issue, Clark left the planet with this jetpack thing to fly through space and a suit and a little breather mask so that he could make his way home. But he's talking to the AI that's in this like tech device, and it's basically like, yeah, another 94,000 years and you might get home. Something like that. So basically it's just him again sort of encountering some different things on his travels. Space dolphins being the main thing, which leads to another planet where the dolphins want his help seemingly, because there's this alien race that's sort of fighting against them, and it's like this like tiny nano it's a nano race that sort of forms a big sand kind of Superman, which they've taken from his mind. It's not just like he finds something related to him. And
I got worried looking at the cover. I'm like, are we getting to some timey-wimey stuff where he had come back and he hasn't been to this planet yet kind of stuff, yet they already know who he is, and I'm glad that's not what it was. I was glad a couple pages after they revealed that big sand construct of Superman that it was, oh no, they're just pulling this from his head, because it's not that they can see him because he's not got a cape on, and the sand construct clearly is the regular outfit that they're modeling it after. So I'm glad there was a. So it's funny, the space dolphin showed up, and then like Superman starts talking about how, oh yeah, Lobo told me about these like years ago, and I was like, oh, this is actually something from continuity. Very good. Very good. Yeah, I saw the space dolphins. I was like, oh man, is Lobo gonna pop up? Is Lobo our savior here that's gonna help Superman get back? And I did like that by the end, the question is, because Superman's like, oh, I'll just follow them home. Like the space dolphins have been to Earth before, and I believe it's the AI that tells him, it's like, how do you know these are the same ones?
Yeah, he basically rides them like in Finding Nemo when they're going with the turtles. That's effectively what he's doing to sort of speed up his journey.
Yeah.
But
and that's why they end up going to that planet, right? Because they feed on that nano race, so they see these dolphins as predators, and they think that Superman's with them. So that they form the big, try to steer him off, but he's able to do the Superman thing and reason with them. So. My main thing with this book still is that Priest style of, I think he read a quantum physics book, and now he's trying to drop terms and philosophies down in here, and it sometimes gets a little bit clunky to read. But when Superman's doing like the heroic stuff, I think the book flows really, really well. And what I mean by heroic stuff, I mean when he's acting like Superman, like talking to these this nano race and reasoning with them and letting cooler heads prevail, or arguing with the AI and kind of having these philosophical discussions there. I think it works. But once we start getting into the sciencey things of it, for me becomes kind of a slog to read.
Yeah, I mean, I think the book looks great. I think Pugolane's art is really solid. I think the sand construct looks great. I think Lois looks great in the present day stuff at the start.
Yeah, the beginning stuff is really strong. I like the dark lines on her too.
Yeah,
with playing with the shadows.
And you've got all of that stuff with him sort of like swimming with the dolphins effectively in space, which is very it sticks out. It is a really strong image. Now the line work is consistently really good in it. I think the story for me, I'm enjoying those present day bits because they feel like they add a lot of weight to like the impact of him being gone so long. And it's like, okay, he's been gone 20 years, and we see in this story here that he's worried he might never make it back, and the fact that he's made it back to Earth in a timey-wimey way, where for them it's only been like a week or whatever, is probably like a blessing, because he's probably out there thinking, oh, when I get back, Lois might be in her 80s or something like that. Like I might like have lost my life with everyone I know, kind of thing. And obviously that turns out not to be the case for everyone else. They're surprised when he's like, I've been gone 20 years by his perspective. But I think the actual adventure stuff in the bulk of the story so far is feeling a little bit like, I don't know, like maybe it'll all come together at the end and thematically I'll see the through line of it all. But right now it's like last issue it was that planet with the
Victor. He called it Kansas.
Yeah, Victor, the Kansas stuff. And in this issue, you get the Dolphins and the Sand Construct nano race and whatever.
Yeah.
It is kind of feeling like different random concepts, and I'm like, is this just going to be like 9 issues of that and then the conclusion?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the way. Like, it's enjoyable enough, but it doesn't quite have the weight to it that the present day stuff is like setting it up to be. Like, you know, when you have that quiet moment at the start where Lois is looking at this white suit and like almost breaking down in tears because like what happened to him for those 20 years. When I go to read the rest of the story, in my head I feel like, oh, the way this has been set up, it feels like he's just back from Vietnam and we're going to see the horrors that he's went through. Yeah. But then it's like just typical space shit.
Yeah. stopping by and helping people.
Well,
and, you know.
I say typical comic book fantasy space stuff is maybe a better way of putting it. But I feel like this is the sort of thing we see Superman do in space whenever he goes into space, rather than feeling like it's an actual gauntlet to like get back to Earth kind of thing.
I mean, outside of that, the time aspect, right? Because it didn't take him like 8 months. It was 8 months from when he left at Kansas to where he finds the space dolphins.
Yeah, he's literally just flying through space for 8 months, and
right, you know. So like, there's a time element there too, where I could feel like Priest will lean on that is the reason why Superman has this PTSD and stuff, just because him experience time in this way, I'm sure is enough to break anyone's brain. So. But yeah, so far the trials haven't been like, I would say, big enough.
I think that's my thing is that I'm way more interested in him with PTSD now than I am with the actual journey that he went on.
That's such a dark sentence.
I know. But honestly, it's more interesting though, because like Superman dealing with an actual like you know mental thing like that does sound quite interesting.
I like him spacing out in the way that he's done it would make sense post-war world. Right, because of the stuff that he saw there and the stuff that he had to do.
It would make more sense, certainly.
Yeah, you know, and this so far, it's like, all right, you met a planet that reminded you of home, and then you hung out with some space dolphins to talk to talking sand. Cool. What's next, my guy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the time of it is the big thing that would have broken him down, because it's 20 years. 20 years is a long ass time to not be home, but it is like. The opening segments, both this issue and last issue, and the entire first issue building up to him being lost, felt like it was setting up this like horrific experience. And I'm like, he's swimming with space dolphins. Like, I don't know, it's just so far the way it's not quite there, and the way that I feel like the tone of that first issue did a great job of setting up everything up. And I think these little snippets of the present day stuff are really setting up something in my head that the actual adventure is not quite delivering, even though it's still fun enough, it's still solid enough. Like, I'm still enjoying it for what it is. I'm not
contemplating not reading it. Like, I'm gonna read it every month still.
Yeah, but it's not living up to what the feeling that I'm getting from the other part of the book is, and the other part of the book's such a small part relatively now. Like, issue 1 was all mostly the present day stuff and the build up to him leaving, but these issue 2 and 3 have been like, here's a couple of pages set up, and then it's all those zany adventure he went on. You know, so it's maybe a bit too zany right now.
Yeah, almost Superman coming back as a hippie would be more right now, because he's really getting in touch with the universe.
Do you know the funny thing about it as well is that I think you could maybe do a little bit of a comparison here with Supergirl, the Woman of Tomorrow.
I've been restraining myself not to,
because I feel like that did a better job of making it feel like the journey she's on this big epic.
Oh my gosh, she went through a gauntlet in those books, in those issues. You know, especially emotionally, like when we got to the ones where she had found the mass graves. You know, like King and Evely really, really drew that out without, like, I don't want to say with a minimalist, but like we didn't really see any of the atrocities. We just saw Kara's reaction to it. And here so far through these two, the last two, it's again, it's Superman getting in touch with the universe.
It's not even that. It's the way it was told. It's the narration from the girl character, and like talking about it in the past tense, like it was this journey they went on. Like everything about it just builds this kind of feeling, and that feeling. Like, I'm not saying this has to feel the same as that. I'm just saying that achieves something closer to what I think parts of this book want me to feel than the rest of it actually does make me feel. So the end of the issue is the Dolphins run off without Superman, and they take his jetpack thing with them, and he's left with literally just the little AI device in his hand, and he crushes it out of anger, and then he's just like floating in space like the Star Child at the end of 2001, being like, okay, I guess I'm dead now. So that's your cliffhanger. We'll see how he's saved at the start of the next issue, I presume.
Well, that suit, is also absorbing solar radiation, the white suit, and it's kind of acting like a life support. So I'm sure, who knows? He might be floating there in stasis for 2 years the next time we pick up.
But it was absorbing it from the jetpack, because the jetpack was kind of like recycling like a small amount of solar energy. It said that.
That's right.
And he still has to breathe in space though, and he had a breather on, and that breather's not there. So
like,
something has to like come along and save him.
Right. Another ship full of aliens that drop him off on a planet.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing, is that I'm worried it's going to feel formulaic after a few more issues, where like, okay, this issue he runs into this other alien race, and you know, sort of I don't know. So there are some cracks beginning to form where I can see things that I won't like as much about it, but that's it though. The issue as a whole is still pretty solidly put together. The art's very good. I think the big moment with the nano species are really well done. Like, you know, there's still a lot to like here as far as the actual like the artistry that goes into it. So, you know, not a bad comic by any means, but definitely like it's aiming for something, and I just feel like it's just slightly missing it here now, 3 issues in. Yeah, which is a shame, but not bad. So we giving Superman Lost?
I'm gonna give this a 7.
Yeah, I think a 7 out of 10 is fair. I'll agree with that.